What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to talk about what's likely to be the most insane NBA playoffs of all time. You can just see based off of how they're booking, specifically the West here. But I wanted to go into some things I've noticed. I know it's been a little bit. Car took a dump, so I basically been car shopping and just trying to find something. And at the same time, with that, obviously comes a bunch of conversations, a bunch of research, all that nonsense, all that calling the insurance company. So I got that going on, and a bunch of other stuff going on as well. But I wanted to, at least, as we're approaching the playoffs, tomorrow looks like a nice matchup day. Kind of get back into the rhythm. So I'll be trying to get what I can out here every night. As if most of the people that watch the YouTube videos, a good portion of them at least, I post on my membership site every single night, no matter what, because obviously it's strictly for people tailing. Knicks came through for us big today, very obvious. Down, and again, I know they're not the same Knicks that started the season, but no Randall, still down 15 games on a team, and you're getting even odds, and they had a perfectly healthy lineup at home. It's just a little ridiculous. Actually, there's a channel out there, and I never thought I would say this because every person in this sector has seemed to be egomaniacal nut jobs. And this guy, if it's your first time watching a video of his, he might come off like a nut job. He thinks it's real, which I think helps. And he's probably far the best breakdown guy. His name is Awful Coaching, and he often goes into the top teams. And I guess I like the guy believes it's real, but he'll go into the Lakers and the Warriors and the Bucks and the Celtics and different teams and how they sell. It's really eye-opening. I knew it was bad, but when you see him go over it from a coaching perspective, it really shows just, and I went into this a long time ago, how the coaches are really the ones who can screw all this up, and just players conveniently missing assignments. They did it all night against the Knicks. It was just a layup fest where any Knick player was just cutting right into the center, completely uncontested. So that one looked obvious. We got that one. Today was a good day. But anyway, you can see it's very congested, and some of our matchups tomorrow are going to be reflective of that. So you see right now, Kings close. I like the Kings. By the time this video's out, hopefully it's still a halftime. You're looking at about +2 something, like 210, I think, +210. And the reason I like the Kings is because it really makes it where the Suns might make the play-in. And I'm not saying they're going to make the play-in. What I'm saying is, because my biggest theory was, and we're halfway there, we had Lakers Warriors as the 9 and 10. I want to say months ago. I want to say at least 2 months ago, long before they were in those positions. The Warriors were at like 6. Now again, it's been condensed, and it's been so condensed I think it's actually more impressive of a call, because with like 1.5 games separating the 4 through 11, whatever it was at the time, maybe not that, but it was like 3 games, separating a play-in from like a top 5 seed, and it still is. For months, it definitely not something that outside of a scripted league that I think would be called. But Warriors, so we're gonna have Steph and LeBron playing in the most prestigious play-in of all time, and we're going to have, I thought, Suns playing Mavs, but I still think Suns being teased as a play-in, and really the only way that works is if, so the Pelicans winning today makes sense, I guess. You could argue, because then they stay up, and then if the Kings win tomorrow, they're in it, and it's like a 3-way race. But the Kings are the one that are trailing right now, I believe. They might both, I think the Suns are 7, the Pelicans are 6, and the Kings are 8. I could be wrong, but I think the Kings are going to pass them. So live, I think the Kings are a nice take. Now, going into tomorrow's plays, and a lot of them have playoff ramifications. So right off the bat, I like the Sixers to win. I'm sure they're going to be favorites, so because they don't want to pay anybody out. I like the cover. I'm playing the cover blind. I'm not playing it blind, but if I'm playing this game, I'm playing it blind. Again, for like the people in the membership and all, I always go into, I pick out, like, if there's 10 games, I try and pick out like 3 to 4 that I love. Like the Hawks cover here, the Spurs cover. They just got destroyed. Now they're playing the most consistent team, only 10.5. I think the Spurs easily cover. So there's a few that I always play, but we don't have a line here yet. But I'm just saying, I've noticed that basically they're having certain teams look really weak and certain teams look really strong heading into the playoffs, right? So we got Embiid back for the Sixers, and the reason I think it makes sense for them to win, I think we're going to get the Magic and Heat as the 7 and 8, little battle of Florida, 9 and 10, obviously Hawks Bulls. That would make the Sixers the 6th seed, and most likely because I think they're going to get flipped, probably by the Knicks, so they can say, oh, the first time in however long, I don't know, two teams from the same division have a 1 and 2 seed. And it also creates an interesting matchup with them. I think they would match the Pacers up. But we know I think we're getting Hawks Celtics. I could be wrong, but they have to get through two play-in rounds. My point being, if the Sixers win this and they get out of that play-in, Bucks drop to 3, where I think they'll stay. You got Bucks Sixers in the first round, which is Doc's first leg of his redemption journey, right? Beating the team that just got rid of him. The second leg, of course, would be beating the Celtics, and I think he's going to match up with both of those teams. And then the more I thought about it, I said, last year, all year long, my theory was the Doc redemption story. If you want to go to any of my basketball prediction videos from last year, before they got eliminated, of course, and then we went over to the Heat, and they wound up going further than most thought, I went into the Doc redemption story. And I had Clippers, Sixers last year. That was my pick. Obviously, that didn't work out. But it's reminding me of the Niners now, where it's like, I like the Celtics all year. But the story behind the Niners, for me, was the Brock Purdy story, right? And the Niners story. So, I mean, it worked out. They made it to the finals. So I'm wondering, are they going... They're really making Doc look like a schmuck. Would they bring him out of retirement? I guess he wasn't... Yeah, he was retired, right? Bring him out of retirement or free agency to bring him to the Bucks, only to have him look horrible. Probably less people are on the Bucks now than ever before. At least, I mean, like, throughout the season. And then just have him get beat again by, like, the Celtics. It's tough, I'm not going to lie. They're like WWE. They're really emulating WWE here. So, I'm going to do an official playoff video. I still like the Celtics to go to the finals. I've said this all year long, and if something really damning comes up, then yes, I do always readjust. But we've been pretty on point with the Celtics, and so good predictions. We had Celtics Nuggets both winning the conference, and I don't mean going to the conference championship. I mean having the best record. And you could say that's obvious, but I don't think it is. Again, betting both of them to win the conference would have paid major plus odds, like, not major, but you're looking at like +2, +300. Coming into the season, the Celtics were getting plus to win the conference, and the Nuggets, I think they might have been at even or something to win the conference, so they're never gimmies, even if they seem obvious now. But anyway, we don't know if the Nuggets are going to win the conference. I think they do. You got to keep them as the consistent, the excellence of consistency, whatever you want to call them. So I just personally think, and not to go on too many side tangents, but I wanted to cover just an idea of like what I'll be going into in my playoff video. You see we have a day off on Saturday, so that might be a perfect time to drop it. But yeah, I think we're going to have, like I said, the Doc playing his former teams. For that to happen, the Sixers win makes much more sense. And again, it pushes the Embiid storyline. How good they are with him, how good they are without him. Bulls Wizards, I do like. In this one, the Bulls are going to be resting all their guys because, again, the fact that they've clinched the play-in, they're not going to get any higher. I think they would get home court against... shouldn't they get home court against the Hawks if they finish with a better record? Maybe they will finish with a better record. We only got 2 games left. Maybe they got the tiebreak. I'm guessing that's the case because they're obviously resting guys if they're a pick-em against the Wizards. So, I mean, that one's not the easiest one to call. I would say Bulls just because they just beat the Knicks pretty bad not too long ago. And I'm noticing suddenly, with the exception of the Hawks because they're garbage, they have a lot of teams, like play-in teams, like Warriors and Lakers are a great example, just going on these sprees. So now, like, the play-in from the West you have the probably most dominant Lakers and Warriors team that we've had all year. They've been winning. They've been winning big. Mostly everybody's been contributing for all like the main guys. So I feel like they're going to have the teams in the playoffs look competent going in. You know, have like the Knicks just beat down the Celtics. All these deals. We got the Hawks beating the Celtics twice in the last couple weeks, and they were both like plus 500. Actually, I think the second one was even more. I think weren't they like 17-point dogs in one of them? Anyway, I just think even though more people might be on the Bulls because it looks like a trap, I think the Bulls will win this one. Not one I love. Not one I love at all. But just wanted to give my opinion. Hornets, Celtics. I think the Celtics going. Well, they're holding the one seed no matter what. And this one I could see an upset. I would just stay away. They could rebound and cover, but they're playing the Hornets, so the 10.5 is kind of light, even though they just got bludgeoned. I'd stay away. Pacers, Cavs again. I don't see much from these teams. I'm actually thinking the Pacers might get a play-in spot now. I know I said Magic Heat, but I could see it being Pacers only because the Lakers won the in-season tournament and they're going to get a play-in spot. So I could see that parallel where both the in-season teams get play-in spots. That's just, again, another small observation. It doesn't mean it's going to be right, but I'd stay away from Cavs, Pacers. Nets, Knicks is another one I'd stay away from. Again, this is more just going into the ramifications. So Heat, Raptors here. Heat should cover this. Again, they just got destroyed. They took a prison pounding from the Mavericks, and now they're 15.5, which is like a line you see the Nuggets get when they're playing like the Wizards. You just don't see this usually. So I think the Heat cover the 15.5. Love that cover. Lakers, Grizzlies. I think Lakers, again, don't love the coverage because the Grizzlies have done a lot of close games this year when they've been like double-digit dogs. But again, Lakers, I think they look strong in this game. That way when they play the Warriors, it's not like two scrubs playing. People see LeBron and Steph still looking good. Both teams looking good. And it's going to be obviously the most overhyped. Well, it won't be overhyped. They're going to live up to the hype. But it's going to be the most artificially hyped play-in of all time. We got the Hawks, T-Wolves. I like the Hawks for the cover here. Again, I always feel like... But they're sitting at like 35% against the spread. They're just awful. And they could lose, sure. Like there's teams that will finish in the mid-30s. Usually a team's going to finish in the high 30s against the spread, not mid. So I really like the Hawks for the cover here. I could see an upset here too. But a lot of these I'd like to stay away from. Marco pointed out something that's interesting, and I agree with him. You see if the Thunder win, and maybe the Spurs upset, the Thunder would tie with the Nuggets. I'm not saying that happens, but they've obviously kept, and Marco's coined it the three-headed monster, and it's a perfect way to coin it, for the Nuggets, Thunder, and Wolves. They've been running within a couple games of each other, basically, I think, since like the season started. As far as I think the Nuggets were a little behind, but basically where it's going to come down to like the last game to see who wins the conference. So I find that interesting. So I think the three of these teams are going to trek very close to each other. Pistons, Mavs. I can't read the Mavs for anything. Warriors. I like the Warriors. Again, it's not one I'm personally playing, but again, a lot of people have been asking me just to give out my opinions. Again, same reason I have the Lakers winning. I really think, and winning pretty big. I just feel like it makes sense. It makes the Warriors look strong. And then going into the play-in, you have we got the Mavs, the Warriors, and the Lakers just looking unstoppable. And suddenly the Clippers aren't looking that good. Suns are kind of lost in the, in the spotlight of it all. So I have a feeling the teams that are looking like unstoppable right now is just to get money on them, like the Vegas money. So like the Mavs, I said this about Luka winning MVP. He was getting plus 750, and I brought up like it makes sense that he would win. Jokic won it 2 out of 3 years. Give it to him the third time. That's a pretty big honor. It wasn't going to be SGA. We knew that. We knew it wasn't going to be Tatum. Luka's, like, in my opinion, the next closest guy to LeBron. I know they don't want to say it. They're trying to, like, I guess, not show their hand. Like, oh, maybe they're going to change their mind. I think Luka's the next LeBron. He's the only guy that plays even close to LeBron, in my opinion. But anyway, I just think I did not think they were going to pay out plus 750. And he got only got better as the season went on, and the record only improved. And now he's, in my opinion, having just, I wouldn't say a definitively better year, but definitely the best year I think he's had in his career. And I think he's having a better year than Joker if you look at everything. And now he's like plus 2,500, and Joker's like minus 5,000. So I went into why Lucas should have won the MVP, but why he wouldn't at plus 750. Now it's even more obvious. Dude's not winning it. I thought he would. Now Marco brought up another good point, and this was my first, because again, I'm not someone who just takes something and sticks with it all year, unless I genuinely believe in it. I went into it for a while. So beginning of the year, we had obviously Lakers were the team that I was leaning. I said Lakers or Mavs, and I said it multiple times. As far as the West, I was a little more open on. With the East, I like the Celtics. And with the Doc story, I'm even thinking about that, to be honest. Bucks Clippers would be very, very interesting. But as the season progressed, when the Lakers won the in season, I immediately ruled them out, which left Mavs, and it's like, okay, who else? And then you got the Clippers getting like plus 300, and the Mavs are getting plus 2,500. And to win the conference, they were doing plus 1,800 to like plus 200. So it's like, is Vegas really going to pay out the plus 1,800? It just seemed like Vegas knew something. Odds have changed a little bit. The Mavs were interesting because, again, if Luka's not going to get MVP, it's a great thing to give him. He's 6 years in. Again, Marco pointed that out. What I found interesting before was Boston Mavericks gives us Hamas and Israel, the colors, right? And obviously Kyrie, of all the players, has a lot of opinions on the Judaistic people. I think that's what it's called, or Judeo people. My apologies. So again, I don't go too much into the symbolism, but I'm more open to the Mavs than I was. I just don't know if Vegas is going to pay that out. But we're going to know pretty quickly. And I'm going to have my playoff video out because we're getting Mavs Clippers. That's the matchup. So again, my two favorites to win the West, one's going to be out immediately. But I do think one of them is winning the West, no doubt. I really do. Don't see any other team out of the West doing it besides Mavs Clippers. And as of the last several months, it's been Clippers, and I'm going to stick with Clippers just because of a myriad of factors. But I'm going to look pretty deeply into it, and by the time I get my playoff video out, who knows, it could change. But either way, they have it looking like WrestleMania, where it's really hard, easy to suspend your disbelief. But anyway, so we're going to get Mavs Clippers, and on the other end, like I said, we're going to get Doc running through his playing his super teams. In my opinion, he's going to probably draw the Sixers. Then he'll probably draw like a Knicks Pacers, and then I think he'll draw the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then Rockets Blazers could go either way. The reason I like the Rockets is they keep pointing out how much Udoka turned the team around, and I think a big moral victory, and it'll also set them up going into next year. Kind of like the Knicks had a good year last year, but nothing insane. But this year they're really putting their foot on the accelerator. Winning record, right? That's good enough, or even a tied record. So they lose to they're going to be pretty heavy favorites, I would imagine, but they lose to the Blazers, then they can't have a winning record. So I think the Rockets finish with a winning record. So the next couple games, I think they're good takes. Jazz, Clippers, again, they can make the Clippers look weak. I have no idea. Well, what the spread's going to be. And then Suns, Kings, it's got to be the Kings, right? I love the Kings here, just because the Suns are a couple games ahead. I think you got to keep them in the play and discussion. So, as you can see, it's kind of like we were doing towards the end of the NFL season, where certain teams like the Rams playing the Lions made too much sense. The Texans playing the Browns and Flacco, the oldest versus the youngest quarterback. So many matchups made perfect sense. Dolphins, Chiefs. So I'm trying to do the same here at the NBA. So that's a guesstimate. The games I went over, those are the teams I like to win tomorrow and why. As far as the playoffs, like I said, I'll have a more extensive video out for the playoffs. I think we're going to see, even though they played a lot this year, I think Cleveland, Indiana makes sense at the 4 and 5 spot, especially because then in the next rounds, you can get like Cleveland, Boston, Indiana, Milwaukee, something like that, and it'd be interesting. And yeah, I think Orlando, Philly, Miami. I'm sorry, Orlando, Miami, Chicago, Atlanta is going to be our play-in teams. Which again, I think is going to line up Bucks, Sixers. And again, if Bucks drop to the 3 seed, then I might have to really reconsider and decide if they are going to give Doc his redemption story. He comes in, oh, it looks bad at first, and then next thing you know, he turns it around and finally gets his glory. Or they just don't like the guy, and he's going to ruin the team, and everyone's going to be rioting and saying they would have won without him, and if they had the prior guy. So it can go either way, because the guy before him was doing pretty darn good, if I remember correctly. But I just have a feeling now makes the most sense for the Celtics, especially with them looking weak going into the playoffs. And then again, you're seeing it from Dallas looking incredibly strong. That's the only reason I'm not as sold on them, just because when a team looks white hot going into the playoffs, like outside of the Nuggets, who have just been completely consistent, they typically don't run through the playoffs. As much as I like the Niners, and I like them to win the Super Bowl because of the story, we saw what happened with them. The Chiefs limped into the playoffs and ran through the whole thing, won the whole thing. The Warriors did it 2 years ago, limped in, ran through it, won the whole thing. The Heat did it. So you always it seems like the teams that look so obvious that are just running the field don't typically make the playoffs. Now, I look at Vegas odds and stuff too. Celtics have been minus odds to win the Eastern Conference for a while, and who in their right mind is going to take that? To take a team to win 3 tough series at minus odds, I don't see it. That's one of the biggest reasons I like the Celtics. On the Western side, again, it's a little more difficult because, you get the Clippers or some crazy stories. I know a lot of people are saying Celtics Lakers. I love the Celtics Lakers until they won the in season. I call it the Intercontinental Championship. And I feel like that was almost like a penance. The Lakers have been pretty embarrassing since then, outside of this late season push. And I think again, LeBron will get his fifth, but probably with Bronny. I think next year they're both going to go to the Hawks or something. So yeah, I think Golden State here, Lakers play each other. So who's going to be bumped immediately? I'm not sure. That'll be a very interesting one to call. I'm still pretty torn on that one because with the Warriors, I feel like they have more playoff value. And if they were to get out of the play-in, a lot of people could pound money on them when they play whoever they would play, like the Wolves or whatever, Thunder, and well, they played the Nuggets or Wolves, I guess, and that's what I think the goal is to get a lot of money on Golden State, but I could be wrong. And the Lakers, again, they won the in-season tournament, so getting booted out of the play-in just seems like exactly what they would like to do when they reward somebody. So yeah, both 4 rings each. LeBron, Steph, with LeBron having the tiebreaker, I guess, for the with the in-season tournament, and now they're playing in the play-in. But yeah, you can see we got some nice matchups. As of now, we would get Thunder's Pelicans, which would be a really cool matchup. We have Clippers Dallas again. That's going to be a very interesting one, and for the play-ins, it's going to be a little tougher to call. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to have a much more comprehensive breakdown. I'm looking at what makes more sense right now as far as again, I think Clippers Celtics makes a lot of sense. Clippers getting a new stadium. A lot of times before the new stadium, a team does well, and because you want to bring money into that new stadium, of course. So getting there but not winning it makes a lot of sense in my opinion. And you got the Heat ready again to probably dupe people because they're gonna say, oh, they were playing last year, and they do it again. They're probably gonna win their play-in matchup. I would think, get out of the maybe even get to the next round, and maybe we get like a rematch of if Heat Celtics before we inevitably get Celtics Bucks. So I'm looking at all the different matchups, looking at all the different possibilities, and in some cases eventualities. And yeah, still liking Celtics Clippers. Wouldn't be shocked if we got Celtics Mavs. Anything out of the West besides that would kind of surprise me. Thunder remind me too much of the Lions. Wolves would be too boring, especially after the Nuggets. If they're going to do that, they're just going to give us the Nuggets again, I feel like. And we do see that they love their repeats. So, with the Niners just going, maybe that gold theme is still in play. Had a lot of gold teams winning and get in there. So, we'll have to see what happens. I don't think anything's really going to get me off the Clippers, Mavs as like my reserve here. but you never know. They might do something. And but with Jokic getting MVP, I'd be very surprised if they gave him another Finals championship. Like, unless this guy's got something on, like some dirt on people. I don't understand why they'd push him that much more than the other international guys. So yeah, I think we have a good idea of what's going to happen. We had some good predictions, as far as some bad ones. Again, I had Detroit surprising people this year, and again, I guess they did. But I thought with Cade, I thought with the team they have, Ivy, they seem, they bring in Billups. I thought, or they brought in Monty, I think, right? The Billups went to the Blazers, but still, you have a coach who was a number one in wins with the Suns just 2-3 years ago, and now he's got the worst record in the league. I don't think that's a coincidence, but yeah. So we missed a few, but for the most part, we had most of the playoff teams. I almost nailed the Pacers. Almost nailed them. Well, we still might. I think my actual prediction was 48 wins for the Pacers. It was 47 or 48. If you watch back, it was a lot of when I was talking about the in-season tournament. I thought they were going to flip the Cavs. I said where the Cavs were last year, I think the Pacers will be there this year. Obviously, that's still on the table. They just play tomorrow, or yeah, as we just saw, they play tomorrow, and the Pacers could tie it up. And I just think the Pacers look pretty strong. They want to push. They love pushing again. Cohesive teams, and in the East, I'd say the Knicks and the Pacers are your most cohesive teams. Even the Heat don't play that cohesive for supposedly having such a great coach, whereas the Knicks and Pacers, they really have their own little rhythm going. And then the West again, it's just so much more inconsistent, but I think it's going to be entertaining. So yeah, I wanted to go into tomorrow's games. Like I said, Pelicans Kings. See, if we knew the result of Pelicans Kings right now, it'd be a little easier. But anyway, I see we're halfway through the third, so I want to get this out that way. If it's like the fourth quarter, maybe 10 minutes left, you're probably going to still be getting plus odds on the Kings, unless they go on a crazy run while this video is uploading. But if the Kings do lose, I just love them even more tomorrow. I just don't think that they're going to have the Kings, not make at least a case where where the Suns are basically like fighting just to get out of the play-in. So yeah, a good bit of plays tomorrow, and like a good bit of them. Again, like teams like the Hornets, I think have upset value. Teams like the Spurs have upset value, and then you look at like the Lakers when it's such a high spread. The Heat, I think they'll both cover their games. So yeah, there's a good bit of value plays tomorrow, but most of it's just based off of the playoff ramifications that I think will come from it. And then you got Thunder here, giving up 13.5. There's no Giannis, I get that, but again, the Bucks still have Dame. I'm sure Chris Middleton's gonna play. I'm sure they're gonna have Brook play. Whenever usually game time decisions wind up playing, it seems like, and it's an important game, so theoretically on NBA TV you'd think they'd have some of these guys play. So the 13.5 seems incredibly heavy. So, logic would say that the Thunder probably cover that game. And then more importantly, like I said, obviously taking them on the money line is not worth it, but them winning makes a lot of sense too, because then they're even with the Nuggets, even with the Wolves, assuming the Wolves win, of course, which I think they'll win, just not cover. And the Bucks drop to or at least tied for or close to the 3 seed, where they're like a half game ahead, or they might be in the 3 seed depending on what other teams do, where they can play the Sixers, who I think are going to win conveniently, which gives us again the Doc versus the Nurse, which is also just too funny not to book, right? So that's what I think we get. A little redemption. The Bucks play their former, Bev and Doc play their former team. So with a lot of these, I think it's just playoff booking. So it'll help with ones like the Kings, where we're getting plus odds, depending on the Warriors, if we get plus odds on that one. And again, the Thunder, even without Giannis, I don't get this 13.5. You still got Dame, so Dame and SGA, and then you got Chet, right? And you really don't have a guy on the Bucks. If you have Brook and Middleton play, I'd argue it's almost even. But Thunder at home, great record. I see why they're getting points or giving points, just not this many. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I think a lot of them are going to be more statement games heading into the playoffs to make certain teams look really weak, make certain teams look really strong. And we were seeing it already. Like I said, we're seeing the Celtics losing the teams they shouldn't be losing to, losing, getting blown off the court. And we're seeing the Warriors, the Mavs, the Lakers suddenly look unstoppable. So it's going to be the irresistible force meeting the immovable object in the playoffs and, well, in the play-in for the Lakers and Warriors. So yeah, just wanted to go into tomorrow's, what I saw, what jumped out at me. And I'll be going, like I said, if not tomorrow, definitely Saturday we'll have basically, I'm hoping, I wanted to basically, since I've done about 3 or 4 hypothetical playoff matchups, I want to get one out there when we have confirmed playoff matchups. But if it's close enough, we could still do it. I think by Saturday we'll have a pretty darn good idea of who's going to be matching up with who. Most teams are going to have clinched their position, or at least clinched a playoff versus a play-in berth, in my opinion. So yeah, like I said, nothing crazy. Just wanted to run through that, let you guys know I'm still alive. Like I said, just been very, very busy. And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Still liking, like as of now, gun to head, I'm still liking Celtics Clippers. But I can't ignore the possibility of Doc playing 3 former super teams, which could only happen if he gets to the finals. And then on the other end, the Celtics Hamas deal. I'm not sure how much I buy into that, but it's pretty interesting. I noticed that they have the exact flags, so there's a little bit to think about, but I'll have it all thought out by my next video, which I'll be going into all the playoff matchups. We did good last year in the playoffs, but definitely room for improvement. We didn't call the winner, of course, so obviously there's a lot of room for improvement. But as far as the upsets and just game at a time, we did pretty good. So I'll be doing a live for the playoffs. Probably the play-in, I think, will be the best time. I think you guys would probably agree. So we can do a live video for when the Lakers play the Warriors and go into that. I think that'll be a real fun one. And then we can do live throughout the playoffs, kind of like we did last year. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your patience. Like I said, just been trying to do a bunch of things, and I had some time, so I wanted to go into tomorrow's matchups and just things I've noticed. As far as, like I said, what we're seeing from the Warriors and Lakers, what we're seeing from the Celtics now, not looking too hot. And I think a lot of people are like, it's the Celtics being the Celtics, and they're going to blow it again. That's the reason I'm pretty strong on them, despite them looking obvious, having 15 games 14 now on the next best team in the conference. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I appreciate everybody, that's been patient, and I think we're going to have a nice finish to the season. So take care and happy earnings.